May I now, on your behalf, and with the greatest pleasure, invite His Excellency the President to deliver his message. Your Excellency, you may do so now.
Thank you very much, the Right Honorable Speaker, Your Excellency the Vice President, Your Excellency the spouse of the President, Your Ladyship the Chief Justice, our honorable members of Parliament, honorable members of the Judiciary, distinguished leaders of our security services, Your Excellencies members of the Diplomatic Corps, our revered Nime, Name, chiefs, traditional rulers, religious leaders, the national chairmen of political parties and executives, the good people of Ghana, I wish you a very good morning. Mr. Speaker, Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution requires that the President address the people of Ghana in whom sovereignty resides on the state of the nation. About 30 years ago, in 1996, I took my first steps in public service when I was elected to this august House as the Member of Parliament for the Bole-Bamboi constituency. For 12 memorable years, I forged many enduring friendships and alliances while working with colleagues from both sides of the House to shape Ghana's legislative agenda and advance the development of our beloved country, Ghana. It has also been nearly a decade since I said goodbye to this House after delivering what many, including myself, thought at the time would be my final address to Parliament. God Almighty, Providence, and the unpredictability of life have summoned me here once again. On the back of a historic electoral mandate from the people of Ghana to deliver a message on the state of the nation. That mandate came with an unprecedented majority in Parliament. And here I am once again to deliver a message on the state of the nation. Mr. Speaker, I wish to convey my heartfelt gratitude to Parliament for the prompt vetting and approval of my nominees for ministerial positions. This efficiency is unmatched in the history of the Fourth Republic, demonstrating the strides we can make when we come together in our dedication to serve the people of our great country. I believe that a similar dispatch will be applied to the approval process for my deputy ministerial nominees. This will enable them to promptly assume office and assist their ministers in delivering our noble vision of resetting our dear nation. In making the nominations and considering the numbers involved, I considered the long expressed sentiment of the Ghanaian people about the sheer size of previous administrations and their associated cost implications. I trust that this significant reduction to 60 ministers and deputy ministers, including regional ministers, will set the stage for further reductions in the size of future governments. With the inauguration of the Council of State, we can begin appointing the staff of the presidency. I intend to significantly reduce the number of staff compared to what existed under previous administrations. All this is aimed at leading by example in cutting down government expenditure and reducing the budget deficit. Let me begin, Mr. Speaker, by invoking the timeless words of the hymnist John Oatman Jr., who encourages us to count our blessings and name them one by one. Yes, we're a nation troubled on many fronts, but we also have many blessings, among which is a now firmly established democracy that, for all its imperfections, has enabled 4 peaceful transfers of power in our land. Nestled in a sub-region that is often plagued by strife and political instability, there's a good reason to take sober satisfaction that these successful, peaceful power transfers have become routine. Mr. Speaker, 50 days ago, I took the solemn oath to assume leadership of this country and serve with truth and humility. This was preceded a month earlier by a watershed election that promised to revive our nation's fortunes and give us a new lease of life. The election result gave us an important opportunity to change course and move off the slippery slopes our country had been descending that had caused so much economic pain, suffering, and grief to our people. In their collective wisdom and with resounding clarity, the Ghanaian people chose to chart a new path to reset the country's economy. And through their votes, they made it clear that they will henceforth demand the highest standards of governance from those they put in positions of leadership. The good people of Ghana elected me to office with a historic electoral margin of nearly 1.7 million votes. Separating me from my next opponent, giving Ghanaians the first female vice president, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. For the National Democratic Congress, NDC, that resounding victory is a selfless call to duty from a people who are tired of years of economic hardship and poor governance. That call therefore places an obligation on us and all who serve, including legislators from both sides of the House, to do our utmost with decency and humility to change the circumstances and the state of our country. Mr. Speaker, as I stated earlier, Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution requires that I give an account of the state of our nation to Parliament. I'm sad to report that the state of our nation is not good. Our economy is in crisis and our people are suffering unprecedented hardships. Mr. Speaker, we will host a national economic dialogue on March 3rd and 4th. On March 11th, the Minister of Finance, on my behalf, will present the budget estimates for the financial year 2025 to this August House. These two events will allow us to present the real state of Ghana's economic crisis to the people. Mr. Speaker, it is not my style to lament and shift blame when confronted with challenges. Mr. Speaker, it's not my style to lament and shift blame when confronted with challenges. My approach is to accept challenges and work hard to resolve them. Indeed, this is precisely what the people of Ghana elected me to do. I have therefore not come here to lament on the state of our country, though there's much to lament about. I understand why I was elected with such high voter confidence, and that is to solve Ghana's problems. With your permission, Mr. Speaker, and within the constraints of time, I'll take the liberty to elaborate on how we intend to address the numerous challenges facing us as a nation. Yesterday, February 26, 2025, marks exactly 10 years since I stood in this chamber, at this very spot, to declare my determination to fix Dumso, a legacy problem of power shortages. And Mr. Speaker, I fixed it. Yes, I promised to fix it, and I did. And I wish to place firmly on record that from January 2016 until I handed over the administration of this country on January 7, 2017, there was no power rationing or load management in Ghana. Mr. Speaker, today, inspired by the Almighty God and propelled by the massive mandate given to me by the good people of Ghana, I am moved to make a similar purposeful and bold declaration that I, John Dramani Mahama, I will fix the economic crisis confronting our country and reset it on a path of growth and prosperity. That I will fix the economic crisis confronting our country and reset it on a path of growth and prosperity. My government, working with you and every Ghanaian, will solve the challenges because we have developed the plan with our people's support. When I decided to run for president again, I did so because of what I knew about the state of our country. I was aware that huge problems awaited me upon assumption of office, but nothing could prepare anyone for the reality of the depths to which our economy and our governance had sunk. Our elders say that a frog's true length can be ascertained only after it has died. Apotrowa ni ehune tenten. And how right they were. It is common knowledge that our economy is in dire straits, which is putting it mildly, because an initial assessment of the books we have discovered, after initial assessment of the books, we have discovered that our economic problems are much deeper than was previously known. We have inherited a country that is broken on many fronts. The profundities of the challenges confronting us are staggering. We are saddled with staggering debts and glaring signs of almost deliberate and, in some cases, reckless mismanagement of our resources. Mr. Speaker, not even the restraints of an IMF program were enough for the previous economic managers to exercise prudence in managing our finances. After setting an inflation target of 18% by the end of 2024, the actual outturn was 23.8%, significantly higher than the threshold agreed with the IMF. The Ghana cedi continued its downward slide, losing 19% of its value against the dollar in 2024. It had already in the previous year lost 27.8% of its value. In addition to the public debt, which amounts to a staggering 721 billion cedis, several state-owned enterprises are also in debt, including the ECG, which owes 68 billion Ghana cedis. Ghana Cocoa Board, the hope of cocoa farmers, is also highly indebted. Its balance sheet indicates a total debt of 32.5 billion Ghana cedis, of which 9.7 billion is due to be paid at the end of September 2025. In 2023-2024 crop season, Cocoa Board was unable to supply 333,767 metric tons of cocoa, which it had sold at $2,600 per ton. As a result, the then management of Cocoa Board rolled over these contracts into the 2024-2025 season. Honorable members, Mr. Speaker, this implies that for every ton of cocoa delivered this year, in fulfillment of the rollover contracts, Cocoa Board and Ghanaian farmers are going to lose $4,000 in revenue. Mr. Speaker, as I address this honorable House, Cocoa Board has supplied 210,000 tons out of the rolled over contract, resulting in a revenue loss of $840 million for both Cocoa Board and the Ghanaian farmer. Mr. Speaker, Cocoa Board and the Ghanaian farmer will lose another $495 million by the time the board finishes supplying the remaining rolled over contracts. Additionally, Cocoa Road commitments alone total 21.7 billion cedis, of which only 4.4 billion is included in the total debt of 32.5 billion. This debt has arisen, Mr. Speaker, while the previous government has made lofty claims about achieving unprecedented milestones in the road sector, available evidence does not support its assertion that it constructed over 13,000 kilometers of new roads. Instead, it has perpetuated a narrative that presents road maintenance and rehabilitation efforts as new construction projects, misleading the public about what has been achieved. The proportion of poor roads has increased, especially in urban centers, where the number of roads in disrepair surged from 46% in 2015 to almost 60% by 2021. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, our road sector is in crisis, mainly due to years of mismanagement. As many as 85% of awarded contracts in the road sector have stalled, and the contractors have stopped work due to non-payment, and most of them have packed their equipment off-site. Mr. Speaker, as of December 2024, unpaid bills owed to contractors in the sector exceeded 20 billion Ghana cedis for work that had been carried out between 2018 and 2024. For instance, the Ghana Road Fund obtained a loan of 600 million Ghana cedis in March 2018 to refinance outstanding debts and borrowed an additional 1.2 billion Ghana cedis from a syndication of banks in November 2019. Alarmingly, upon assuming office, the Ghana Road Fund still had outstanding payments, including some as low as 2,000 Ghana cedis, dating back to 2018. Current commitments for road projects that are unpaid currently stand at an astonishing 105 billion Ghana cedis. Despite these considerable challenges, this government remains steadfast in its commitment to prioritize vital infrastructure projects that address the pressing backlog of poor roads. Our strategy will be anchored in executing our flagship initiative under the Big Push program. The Big Push will see major rehabilitation of many key roads in the feeder roads, urban roads, and highway sectors. We'll also undertake the following key initiatives to revitalize the road sector. We'll reintroduce tolls, road tolls, using modern technology. We'll rationalize the road sector portfolio to focus on high-impact initiatives. Mr. Speaker, we will uncap the road fund in order that it can accumulate more money to pay for road maintenance. Mr. Speaker, we'll minimize sole source procurement to encourage competition, competitive bidding, and enhance public transparency in the procurement processes. Mr. Speaker, the drip equipment, which was acquired at the last moment as a knee-jerk reaction for electioneering purposes, will be reorganized into regional mobile maintenance units to provide emergency road works in the regions. Mr. Speaker, I've realigned the Ministry of Transport to oversee 4 modes of transportation: aviation, maritime, inland water transport, road transport, and railways. The government will commission a feasibility study to develop coastal water transport services. This initiative aims to promote alternative modes of transport and ensure their integration into our existing systems under the National Transport Policy. It also aims to enhance tourism, reduce road traffic, and mitigate environmental pollution. Motorcycles and tricycles, commonly known as Okada, hold significant potential as a more convenient, timely, safe, and cost-effective mode of transport. Currently, the Road Traffic Regulation of 2012, LI 2180, prohibits licensing motorcycles and tricycles for fare-paying passengers. As part of our government policy, the ministry will amend the regulatory framework to regularize the use of motorcycles and tricycles for commercial passenger transport. In our ongoing effort to revitalize the whole airport, the government will facilitate the establishment of the state-of-the-art pilot training academy and a maintenance, repair, and overhaul facility. The Volta region will become a center of excellence for aviation training and aircraft maintenance. This project will create significant employment opportunities. It will stimulate economic growth and bolster tourism in Ho and the surrounding communities. I have directed the airport company to release 10 acres of land at the Ho airport for this purpose. Mr. Speaker, with the completion of the Tema-Mpakadan rail line, the government will launch passenger services between Tema and Adome. We will also begin developing the necessary infrastructure on the Volta Lake to facilitate freight transport between Tema Port and Bupe as part of our Eastern Corridor multimodal transport system. The Western Railway line will continue to be modernized in partnership with the private sector. This initiative aims to support the efficient transport of bulk cargo and minerals from the mines in Nsuta, Awaso, and Yinehin to the Takrady port, while providing passenger transport along the Western Corridor. Mr. Speaker, the last attempt by the previous administration to re-establish a national airline has failed. We will reopen a transparent process that will receive expressions of interest to invite competent established partners to work with us to establish a national airline. We believe that an efficient national carrier can help reduce fares on routes where external carriers are currently enjoying a monopoly. Mr. Speaker, our communications and digital technology initiatives focus on expanding our national digital infrastructure to stimulate innovation and enhance public service delivery. We're also dedicated to improving access to information and communication technology, promoting the digital economy, ensuring inclusive and equitable growth across all sectors. Nevertheless, the sector faces several significant challenges that hinder our progress, and these include insufficient infrastructure for delivering weather and climate services across all time zones, fragmented and uncoordinated databases, outdated legislation and policies that do not keep pace with a rapidly evolving sector, a lack of adequate technology to effectively detect, prevent, and respond to cybersecurity threats, and a daunting debt burden of almost 2 billion cedis. To revitalize this sector, government is committed to reviewing existing laws and policies to better align them with emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, big data, Internet of Things, and machine learning. Additionally, we will develop and expedite the enactment of the Kofi Annan Center of Excellence Bill. This legislation will establish the necessary framework for the center to concentrate on research and development, consultancy services, and capacity building. Mr. Speaker, access to safe and reliable water and affordable housing significantly enhances the well-being and quality of life of our people. These elements are integral to our reset agenda and fundamental to our vision to build the Ghana that we all want. However, the water sector in Ghana faces considerable challenges, including illegal mining activities that contaminate fresh water sources, rendering them unsafe for drinking and agriculture. This alarming situation highlights the critical need for a decisive and ongoing effort to combat illegal mining to save our environment and our public health. Government will prioritize completing new and ongoing water projects to improve access to safe drinking water. This commitment should be good news for the people in the Keta, Adaklu, Wenchi, Sekendi Takrady, Asankragwa, Sehwiwioso, Dodoaso, Kweman, Damfa, Goso, Dwabeng, Aveime, and Edubamso. We'll also tackle critical water projects in Damango, Tamale, Yendi, Sunyani, Techiman, and Takwa to ensure broader access to potable water nationwide. Mr. Speaker, Ghana has a coastline that stretches approximately 550 kilometers. 2/3 of this coastline is threatened by tidal wave erosion, which impacts nearly 30% of Ghana's population. Rising sea levels have exacerbated vulnerabilities in coastal areas, leading to flooding, habitat loss, and community displacement. Consequently, coastal protection has emerged as a critical national priority. And so for the communities that are threatened by flood currently, we're going to prioritize building sea defense to be able to protect you. Flooding has become an all too frequent occurrence in many urban centers across the county, resulting in tragic loss of life, livelihood, and property. This scenario underscores the urgent need for sustainable solutions to address these pressing challenges. Many of our drainage systems are inadequate. They are worsened by careless waterway construction and obstruction, and the relentless encroachment on wetlands and floodplains. To tackle these issues, we have to explore alternative sources of funding to support essential drainage works, desilting, flood control, and coastal protection. Mr. Speaker, the quality of life of any nation relies significantly on a well-regulated and efficient housing market that guarantees access to decent homes. Our housing deficit is estimated at over 1.2 million units, and this has been the situation for many decades. High costs associated with land acquisition, construction material, and access to financing have made home ownership unattainable for many, primarily affecting vulnerable populations and contributing to the rise of slums. This government is steadfast in its commitment to complete all ongoing housing initiatives, beginning with the Saglemi Affordable Housing Project. We'll also implement a low-cost social housing project supported by a district housing scheme. This project aims to remove the financial barriers to home ownership. Workers in the formal sector, public or private, who have about 15 to 20 years before retirement, can purchase and own a house in cedis and have the cost deducted monthly from their salaries until the house is fully paid up. Mr. Speaker, illegal mining, commonly known as galamsey, has inflicted tremendous harm on our forests, leading to significant land degradation and pollution of vital water sources. This reckless activity threatens Ghana's environment and public health. Mr. Speaker, I'm sad to report that presently 44 of the country's 288 forest reserves have been impacted, an area that is alarmingly equivalent to approximately 8,000 football fields has been completely destroyed. Mr. Speaker, the pollution levels in major rivers within the southwestern basin are critically high, with turbidity levels far exceeding possible units. To combat this urgent crisis, we're implementing a proactive approach that includes robust and impartial law enforcement, meaningful stakeholder engagement, and the creation of alternative livelihoods for our citizens involved in galamsey. We're expanding the Minerals Commission regional offices to strengthen their regulatory oversight. We will establish a framework that categorizes mining activities into small, medium, and large scale, each with its tailored regulations. Mr. Speaker, we will establish a gold board, and we're in the process of doing it. Legislation will come to this House shortly. This gold board will ensure effective governance of the gold industry. At the same time, we wish to take advantage of Ghana's salt production capacity to place it as a central export commodity under the African Continental Free Trade Area. We will also seize opportunities presented by the global shift towards net zero emissions to craft policies related to critical minerals such as lithium. The anticipated development of the integrated aluminium and iron industry will significantly increase the value of Ghana's natural resources. In our commitment to restoring degraded forests, we will launch the Tree for Life restoration policy and the Blue Water Initiative, which will transform mined-out areas into ecological recovery zones. This ambitious afforestation program aims to establish more than 50,000 hectares of new plantations and undertake 5,000 hectares of enrichment planting annually. We'll also implement public sensitization campaigns to foster sustainable forest management practices and uphold the Wildlife Resource Management Act. We're going to involve school children and the general public in tree planting and tree growing. Mr. Speaker, comprehensive reforms will be introduced to enhance transparency and efficiency while ensuring tenure of security in land administration. Climate change remains a pressing concern for Ghana and the global community. To meet our climate mitigation targets, Ghana has allocated 24 million metric tons of its carbon budget, totaling 64 million metric tons of carbon for authorization under Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. We've successfully authorized 3 projects which are poised to reduce 5.2 million tons of our carbon emissions. In line with our manifesto, we are committed to strengthening institutional and human capacity through necessary adaptation and mitigation measures to bolster resilience in critical sectors such as agriculture, forestry, energy, and water resources. We also pledge to align our national policies with international efforts to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade by 2050 and promote a fair and just transition to renewable energy sources. Mr. Speaker, we stand on the cusp of making history, the history of a country that prioritizes transparency and accountability as key elements of governance. During my campaign for president, I pledged, as captured by the NDC's 2024 manifesto, to take a strong stance against corruption. Mr. Speaker, we must end state capture. Mr. Speaker, we must end the purchase of state and public assets, such as land and other immovable assets, by members of the political class. Mr. Speaker, I pledge to fight corruption head-on by implementing Operation Recover All the Loot, ORAL. In that regard, Mr. Speaker, one of the first committees I established, even before my investiture as president, was to establish the Oral Committee on the sidelines of our transition. It is instructive to announce that the committee received over 2,000 complaints from the public and has since handed over a comprehensive report. This report has been given to the Attorney General for further review, thorough investigation, and eventual prosecutions. Mr. Speaker, the recent arrest related to the unwarranted payment of $2 million of Ghanaian taxpayers' money in the Sky train saga, and then also the National Service Ghost Name scandal, mark only the beginning of a comprehensive response based on the Oral Committee's findings. Mr. Speaker, let me state that my commitment to fighting corruption will continue with the establishment of a unit at the presidency and the maintenance of the hotline where complaints and reports regarding graft and corruption will continue to be received and transferred to the Office of the Attorney General. Mr. Speaker, we will shortly submit for consideration a bill to regulate and restrict the sale of disposal of public lands and state assets. Mr. Speaker, as soon as the 2025 budget is approved, government will immediately take steps to reform the existing anti-corruption agencies by increasing funding and improving transparency and accountability. Mr. Speaker, Ghanaians voted largely and overwhelmingly and endorsed the NDC because we demonstrated a strong commitment and abhorrence for corruption. We pledged to fight corruption and implement far-reaching reforms that will eventually achieve a sustainable zero-tolerance policy against corruption. Mr. Speaker, the justice and legal sectors play pivotal roles in ensuring accountability and fostering the fair, equitable treatment of all our citizens by the state and its agencies. Delays and uncertainties have plagued justice delivery in Ghana, leading many Ghanaians to perceive a politicization of the judicial process. The public trust in the judiciary's independence is alarmingly low. We must work together to restore confidence in the judiciary. My government will uphold the judiciary's independence and work with the Judicial Council and services to depoliticize justice delivery and collaborate closely with the Chief Justice to combat corruption effectively. Mr. Speaker, in line with our manifesto promise to reform and expand legal education, we have developed a legal education reform bill ready to be presented to Cabinet for approval and laying before this August House Parliament. Mr. Speaker, on January 30th, 2025, I inaugurated the Constitution Review Committee to undertake a comprehensive review of our fundamental law and ensure that it reflects the hopes and aspirations of our citizens. The committee is composed of distinguished scholars, jurists, and professionals who have made significant contributions to our nation in both the public and private sectors. They will engage Ghanaians and consult with the relevant stakeholders and experts over the next 6 months. Their findings will ultimately be presented to the public for approval, followed by submission to Parliament for enactment into law, and referendums will be held where necessary. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to report that Ghana's internal security remains stable despite developments primarily rooted in chieftaincy disputes. We firmly believe that even amidst conflict, it is essential for our citizens to coexist peacefully and seek amicable resolution to these disputes. We will initiate comprehensive reform across all security agencies to strengthen our national safety and security. One area that has garnered significant public scrutiny is the recruitment process within our security forces. Accusations of politicization, favoritism, protocol, and selectivity have been prevalent. Let me assure you that we are committed to changing that narrative and fostering a more transparent and equitable recruitment policy so that all our young people who wish to serve in these services have an opportunity to do so. We are dedicated to enhancing the capabilities of the Ghana Police Service, the Prison Service, the Ghana National Fire Service, the Immigration Service, and the Narcotics Control Commission, the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, and all investigative bodies operating under the Ministry of Interior. By motivating and re-equipping these agencies, we aim to effectively maintain internal peace and security. Mr. Speaker, I want to reaffirm this government's unwavering commitment to prioritizing the welfare and well-being of our brave men and women in uniform who sacrifice daily to uphold law and order and secure our nation's peace. We will invest in adequate equipment and suitable accommodation for our security personnel. As Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, I want to emphasize our determination to strengthen our democracies. This is particularly true given the troubled proliferation of military-grade weapons that have fallen into unauthorized hands. These weapons pose a significant threat to our national security and our constitutional democracy. They endanger the safety of all Ghanaians and potentially exacerbate existing conflicts such as chieftaincy disputes, and in many cases fall into the hands of armed robbers. Since taking office, we have pursued a responsible approach to account for these unregistered weapons while maintaining stability within the security apparatus. I'm pleased to report that we've made substantial progress and are committed to ensuring that those responsible for this situation are brought to book. In our efforts to safeguard our citizens, Mr. Speaker, to safeguard our territory, to maintain our democracy, we remain vigilant against the threat of violent extremism and terrorism. Therefore, we are resolute in enhancing our defense mechanisms through diplomacy, counterintelligence, information sharing, infrastructure development, and the acquisition of appropriate technology. Achieving a stable and secure nation necessitates the motivation of our uniformed personnel. Currently, the Ghana Armed Forces faces a housing shortfall of over 17,000 units, and we recognize that the inadequate state of barrack accommodation needs to be addressed promptly. In addition to housing, we'll prioritize improvements to rations and fuel supplies for our security forces. Quality healthcare is another critical aspect of motivating our armed forces. As we work to expand and improve facilities at the 37 Military Hospital, complemented by the recently restored oxygen plant, we remain committed to finishing the delayed Afari-Kumasi Military Hospital, which is still a top priority for my government. The goal is to complete and operationalize this facility before the end of this year. Mr. Speaker, like many other state institutions under the previous administration, the Ministry of Defense is burdened with approximately 3.7 billion cedis in debt, a figure that continues to grow as new and undisclosed debts are uncovered. However, the demands of our Army, Navy, and Air Force continue to rise, necessitating the need for modern platforms for effective operations. Despite these financial challenges, I am confident that the Ghana Armed Forces possesses the human resources necessary to revitalize the defense industry's holding corporation, which can support the government's efforts in this regard. DHOC, which was begun under the late President John Evans Atta Mills of blessed memory, during my tenure as chair of the Armed Forces Council, is essential for fueling Ghana's industrialization drive, which is aligned with our 24-hour economy initiative. Although DHOC has expanded, it's yet to be fully optimized to deliver the returns needed for the Ghana Armed Forces and our nation. I've tasked the Minister for Defense with incorporating innovative and significant private sector participation into DHOC's operations to harness its considerable potential for economic growth. Mr. Speaker, Ghana's strong international reputation was reaffirmed by the historic participation of foreign leaders during the swearing-in of the President, myself, and Vice President Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman on January 7th, 2025. Mr. Speaker, it reflects the confidence our country's stability and democratic progress has engendered in the international community. Ghana remains committed to its Pan-Africanist ideals, non-alignment, democracy, and global cooperation, and the rule of multilateralism, embracing a policy of friends to all and enemies to none. We'll continue to cultivate diplomatic ties based on mutual respect and shared values. Mr. Speaker, Ghana is open for business. Our policy on economic diplomacy focuses on export diversification, foreign investment, and job creation. A new blueprint and delivery unit at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs with clear performance indicators will be launched soon to ensure foreign engagements yield tangible benefits for our people. Because of emerging security threats, especially on our borders, Ghana is committed to security initiatives, particularly in the Sahel region. We'll maintain a continuous engagement with our Sahelian neighbors and continue to work with them to resolve the difficult situation that they are confronted with. I've appointed a special envoy to help sustain diplomatic relations with our Sahelian neighbors, aiming to achieve their reintegration, if possible, back into our regional bloc. Mr. Speaker, we'll expand passport application centers nationwide to reduce processing times to 7 days. We wish that a passport will be delivered within 7 days from the date application is submitted. These comprehensive reports at the passport office is going to align with our vision of a 24-hour economy. The passport office is going to work 24 hours to process passports that have been applied for. Mr. Speaker, as we reset Ghana to serve Ghanaians better, government will also revamp the labor administration institutions in the country. We'll promote social dialogue and foster harmonious industrial relations among stakeholders. In the coming months, the National Tripartite Committee, led by the Sector Minister, will organize a national labor conference to discuss pertinent issues affecting labor and employers. The recommendations are expected to influence and shape government's policies and programs in this sector. Mr. Speaker, we will launch the Ghana Labour Export Program, which would allow Ghanaians to go abroad and work with countries that we have signed agreements in specialized areas like engineering, technology, welding, carpentry, masonry, and nursing, teaching, and so many and so forth. The government will maintain strict fiduciary responsibility for the operation of the National Pensions Regulatory Authority and the Social Security and National Insurance Trust. This year, the NPRA will fully automate its internal operations and the pension industry will be regulated. This is critical to safeguarding the growing pension fund assets. As part of measures to increase pension coverage in the informal sector, which currently stands at only 11%, the government will implement an informal sector pension inclusion initiative to increase participation in micro-pension schemes. Decentralization has been at the heart of our government system, yet key players in the process, such as assemblymen and women, often face neglect and inadequate compensation. Mr. Speaker, I did promise to pay modest allowance to our assemblymen and women, and I'm committed to keeping this promise. The Honourable Minister, when he presents the budget to this House, would have a provision for allowances for assembly members. Mr. Speaker, I have just unveiled the state of the nation as I came to meet it. I've also disclosed several measures that I intend to take to address the challenges we have inherited. Nonetheless, no matter how well-intentioned our efforts to reset our economy are, they will not yield the desired outcome without the support of the people of Ghana. And so, to my dear countrymen and women, you have clearly and unmistakably expressed your displeasure with the poor governance and corruption that has existed in the past. Mr. Speaker, some of our compatriots did so even at the peril of their lives, just as our 28 February Crossroads shooting national heroes did in the Gold Coast. May all such martyrs of democracy, those who have died in the process of elections and in the process of just exercising their civil rights, may they rest peacefully in the bosom of the Lord. Mr. Speaker, we will, as I promised, investigate these deaths and we will provide appropriate compensation to the families of those who have died during the elections. My brothers and sisters, you gave me a compelling mandate that leaves no one in doubt about your expectations of me and my government. You embraced the vision to generate new and well-paying jobs through the 24-hour economy initiative. The arrogance of power that you so much abhor will be a thing of the past. I will enforce and demand the highest standards of performance from those I have chosen to work with me to improve the circumstances of our country. I'll publish a code of conduct that they will be strictly made to abide by. Mr. Speaker, it would be remiss of me if I didn't admit that the entire economic value chain is currently in the internal ICU, in the ICU. As I recall mentioning a few intensive care units, as I recall mentioning a few years ago when we were still in opposition, the economy is even worse than we had envisaged. But this gives us ample opportunity to be innovative in our efforts to resuscitate it. And so what are the key takeaways from me for the people of Ghana? 1, that we shall fight corruption effectively. 2, that we shall run a lean government of no more than 60 ministers. 3, that we shall realign the ministries, agencies, and departments to eliminate duplication. 4, that will introduce austerity, reduce wasteful expenditure and spending, and improving tax collection. 5, that we shall widen Ghana's taxness, reform tax waivers, especially on investments, and return to our homegrown solutions. 6, that we will grow what we eat and reduce imports of food and goods that can easily be produced here in Ghana. Your voice and contributions will prove invaluable on this journey of national reset, and I encourage you to make your voices heard. I commit to the judicious use of your resources, eschewing waste and ostentation. We will always endeavor to make the most of the little we have, so that together we can guarantee a brighter future for our children and our children's children. Though the state of our nation now may appear bleak and the task of addressing it may seem daunting, nothing should stop us from achieving our goals once we set our minds to it. In one collective push, we can resolve to make this great nation bequeathed to us by our forebears and see it come to fruition. Mr. Speaker, Ghana's economic challenges are not insurmountable. They present the government and everyone else the opportunity to innovate, to reflect, review, and reset, which is the theme for the commemoration of our scaled-down 68th independence anniversary. Mr. Speaker, it is said that there is strength in unity. Ghana's greatest strength lies in its people, its young and energetic youth. If we stand united, we can be more resilient and build together the power of collective action to overcome economic and social challenges. Every Ghanaian, regardless of political affiliation, background, or status, has a responsibility to play a key role in nation building and work towards a complete reset of our country. Mr. Speaker, let me assure you that we are leaving no one behind as we reset to rebuild the Ghana we want. We will rebuild a Ghana that works for all of us and not just a few. We shall live the dreams of our forebears in our lifetime. And so, my countrymen and women, where despair once existed, let hope radiate. And where the sun appeared to set on our bright prospects as a nation, let a new dawn of enthusiasm and renewal supplant it. So that when I come and stand here next year to present a message of the state of our nation, it will be one brimming with excitement and happiness. Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for this opportunity. I thank honorable members for your kind attention. May God bless our homeland, Ghana. Thank you.